Hi, and welcome to Unprecedented Journey. I'm your host, Jeff Oppenheim, and right about now, I don't know about you, but I'm beginning to think summer is just around that corner, and I'm kind of hanging on for it. But, of course, that means something else is just around the corner, bathing suit weather. And for many of us, we start to think, gotta get back into shape, and that means working out? Okay. But it also could mean diet. And let's face it, the quarantine has not necessarily been our best friend in terms of good eating habits. All that food that we binge bought, and now we had to eat kind of quick because it could have started going bad. So I figured now more than ever was a perfect time to stop and have an interview with a dear friend of mine, Lyn Genet. She's a nutritionist, she's an author, and she's a restaurateur, even more important, right? Now this episode is jam-packed with a lot of great information, so it's a little bit longer than most, but I think you'll find it well worth the stay. So sit back, relax, and let's meet Lyn Genet. Lyn, hi, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks so much.
Now Lyn, moment of candor. I thought of you immediately for this episode, not so much though for your laurels and all the books you've written, but because of your restaurant. It's an incredible restaurant. You're eating things that just are so filled with flavor, so filled with taste, from the ginger margarita at the beginning to the death by chocolate at the end. So Lyn, let's talk about your journey and mission with the restaurant.
Well, you know, I started off in the restaurant business at the age of 14, so that's 41 years ago, and I've always been interested in health. I was working in a health food restaurant, I was working in an African restaurant, and this was, in San Diego in the 70s, so there was definitely a strong hippie vibe there, but there's also this love of creating really fun, healthy foods, comfort foods, and making them healthier. And so that's kind of always been my mission. I've worked at Balthazar, I've worked at Pastis, and certainly when I started my business with the plan and writing my books, people said, Lyn, I love what's happening. I feel better than I've ever felt before, but if I have one more zucchini, I'm gonna stab myself in the eye. And I wanna bring my family on board. I wanna bring my kids on board. Can you please recreate my favorite recipes? I want to eat Chinese food. I want to eat Italian food. I want to eat Thai food. And so really I've spent, I would say, the good last 12 years recreating comfort food recipes, making them low inflammatory. And so it was just natural when I decided to open up a restaurant to use some of the greatest hits.
Well, it seems to me every time I hear other experts talk about nutrition, and even the way we tend to think about nutrition, we go at it from a weight loss perspective. Is that the perspective we really should have? Or is there another way we should be thinking about nutrition?
I think if we're talking about weight loss, we tend to think of food being punitive. And there needs to be a measure of you not having fun and not enjoying your meals. Perhaps it's our puritanical approach, but you see this worldwide. People associate losing weight with being punished. And it's not that way at all. As you know from my diet, it's chemistry, not calories, that affect your weight. And when you find the foods that work for your body, you are not only going to be at your best weight, you're going to be at your best health.
Because too often there is this sense that eating healthy means eating without taste. It's rather wrong, isn't it?
Part of me opening up the restaurant was almost like a lab, right? How many people were going to come into the restaurant because we were new and we served great cocktails, and we had a lot of gluten-free foods, and how many people were going to be interested about the diet? Could we open up a dialogue about nutrition? Could we open up a dialogue about how we eat and what we think is healthy? And for some people, obviously I have my fans that come into the restaurant, and they know their greatest hits and they order them. But what's been amazing is we opened up in May, and on the menu we have the cleanse, which is part of my diet, which is a 3-day food-based cleanse. I was so excited to see how when January rolled around, right, and that's usually when we make these commitments to our health, how many people that had never really thought about nutrition before wanted to try it because they could see that you can be healthy, and it doesn't mean that you're just eating raw kale or you're juicing or whatever we associate with being healthy, that you can eat normally and healthfully. And when we start that conversation, when we start that dialogue, now we're talking about a lifelong permanent change to one's health.
Interesting that you mentioned January being one of those times of the year where we put weight loss or getting in shape or optimum health on our New Year's resolutions list. In some ways, this strange time that we're living in, especially under quarantine, offers us a similar opportunity to re-examine diet and health, no?
One, we used to have a little to no time to cook at home. Two, most of us aren't great cooks. And I think so many people are intimidated with cooking that the first thing I hear from people is, I can't cook. I'm like, of course you can cook. Of course you can cook. So all of my recipes were built with New Yorkers in mind. As you and I were discussing the other day, you're not taking a chicken and massaging it under the moonlight and marinating it for 24 hours. I mean, Martha Stewart may have that amount of time. I would love to have that amount of time. I don't. So my recipes are quick and easy, and they're free. Free always tastes good. So being able to understand that you can prepare a food with maybe 5 to 10 minutes and just throw it in the oven is really exciting, and it's going to free us up from this dependence on some of this mass-produced food, which is not promoting our best health, which is more expensive than us making it at home, and it's really about saving that time and creating a sense of family. So definitely I would always see from my diet people saying, wow, now that I'm not eating out as much or ordering in as much, and we're making food for everybody's sitting around the table. We're sharing more time as a family. And I think that that's really important, one, for our physical health, for our gut health, but definitely for our emotional health. And if you feel like you're slaving in the kitchen over these elaborate recipes, you're going to wind up resenting making food. And you don't need to. It can be really quick and easy.
I actually love to cook, but should I be using and considering certain ingredients right now at this time, especially with optimum health in mind?
Absolutely, and everything that's on this planet is here to promote our health. And the foods that you eat can have such profound health benefits. And with COVID going on, I'm making a renewed effort on my social media pages to say how the everyday foods that we're eating can really promote our best health. So today I was just writing about garlic, and garlic can not only helps to lower our cholesterol, but it's strongly antiviral. So include a little extra garlic in your meals. Oregano, strongly antiviral. Thyme, strongly antiviral, right? Right now we want to eat foods that help to fight viruses.
So are spice and herbs really the ultimate medicine?
If you look into the research, and we're talking solid research about the health benefits of herbs and spices and the foods that we eat, it's incredibly exciting. Rosemary, once again, strongly antiviral, but it's great for cognitive decline. And they've done studies where they've shown that having rosemary before testing for college students has increased their grades. You know, you can geek out about all this kind of stuff, or you can be just simply like walking into my restaurant saying, wow, this tastes great, what's the recipe? But to know that food can really heal you and food is your medicine is, to me, exciting. Obviously, I've built my career on it. When I first wrote my book, The Plan, which has been published in 15 languages all over the world and has helped millions of people, I knew it was going to do good stuff. But I didn't expect to see the level of people writing to me saying, my autoimmune disease is in remission, my depression is in remission, I no longer have chronic pain, I no longer have depression. And this is all through food. So when we find the foods that work for your body, and in my restaurant we have the least inflammatory foods based on my research, when you eat the foods that work for your body does what it always wants to do, which is heal.
Are there other health practices we should be considering?
Well, it really depends on your condition, of course. But I think it all begins with the basics. eating and family. And when you can nail that down, I think a lot of other things fall into place. Because when we understand that the body is a homeostatic machine, the body always wants to repair, but it can stop repairing because of inflammation. That's a very super important concept. And that's why, for me, the emphasis has never been on weight loss. If you need to lose weight, you'll lose a lot of weight following my diet. But it's really about best health, because at the end of the day, if you're 90 years old and you're dancing on a tabletop, who cares if you're 10 or 20 pounds overweight, right? It's about feeling healthy and feeling good and feeling happy.
Well, then there never seems to be enough time for a conversation like this. There's just so many layers, and it's also best to do over a meal at her restaurant. But any last words for us? One
thing I can tell you is that you should never feel bloated after a meal. If you do, that's a sign that you ate something that's causing inflammation for you. And that means that you probably want to identify it and take it out of your diet, because inflammation and inflammatory response can last for 72 hours. So if you're eating something just a few times a week that doesn't work for your body, you can be in a chronic state of low-grade inflammation, and that's going to affect your immune system. You should never have that energy dip, right? If you feel sleepy after a meal, that's a reaction. If you start craving foods after eating a healthy meal, because there's no such thing that's healthy, there's just what's healthy for you. That too is a sign that something was imbalanced in your diet. My books are not about telling you how to eat. My books are literally a guide for you to determine how or what you're eating, whether it works for you or not. So I don't care if you're vegan or paleo or keto, I don't care, frankly. I just want to make sure that the foods that you're eating works for your body.
And how do people get more information if they want it, Lyn?
You can certainly buy my books on Amazon. The Plan and the Metabolism Plan are wonderful books. They're super fun reads. Social media, the Lyn Genet Plan, I'm on there. Certainly if you go to the Facebook, you're going to find a lot more information. So I've kind of developed that almost as a Wikipedia of everything, of research that I find helps to support you. You can find those free recipes that we're talking about. And for a lot of people, it's just been as simple as following my recipes and starting to notice how well they feel. And then all of a sudden they have something else and notice they don't feel well. And I can tell you, feeling good is pretty darn addicting. Not being in chronic pain is pretty darn wonderful. And when you are able to identify and remove the things that aren't making you feel well, that puts you back in the driver's seat. And that's where I want you. I want you happy, I want you healthy.
Well, they could probably also find you at the restaurant once it reopens, and that's Lyn Genet Kitchen at 141st and Broadway. Thank you again for joining us, Lyn.
Thanks for trying to make everything better for everyone else.
And thank you for joining me today. Like Lyn says, let's use this time to re-engage in the ritual of good cooking and eating practices. Not just ourselves, but let's get the whole family involved if you're lucky enough to be quarantined with them. If not, we can always do it virtually online together. Make sure, to that note, to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Easy enough to do. Make sure you send a comment, question to me or to Lyn, and like and share with friends. It's how we can stay connected. Until the next time, I'm Jeff Oppenheim for Unprecedented Journey. Stay safe, stay well, and eat well too.